Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And thank you to our listeners for listening to us today to this podcast called Confessions of an Actor. My name is Tamara Abrosimova, and I am here with Tom Glynn. Thank you
That
so much
sounds
for
so
being
cool
here.
the way you said Kamala.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I am excited to finally have you on the show because I know
Thank you.
I know you market yourself out there and you always post a bunch of cool stuff like you like family pictures, auditions, pics from the set, pics from like
I, I
people. Like,
I mix it up a little bit. Some of it's the personal stuff, like, hey, here's my kids, here's my wife, and some of it is the business part of it, especially Instagram. That's the one where it's more like the business account kind of thing. Whereas
mhm,
that's where I probably do most of my promotion.
yeah, which is
But yeah,
great.
it's part of it. It really is. I got a love-hate relationship with it because I want to just be able to have like an Instagram or Facebook where it's like, hey, this is just what it's supposed to be instead of, hi, I just booked this, or hey, I didn't. But it comes with the territory now.
It's true. Yeah. I keep seeing like people posting about, not you specifically, but just like people like, hey, I booked this and then I booked this. Well, I'm like, show me what you didn't book. Show me those awful auditions where you failed, or auditions that you
Oh, don't
didn't
worry, there's
book,
plenty
but
of those. There's tons of those.
so much.
A good friend of mine had me sit down the other day and go, I want you to figure out your booking ratio versus how many auditions you had. And I was just like, what? In the past year, it's been pretty good. I've booked a decent percentage, but going back to the beginning,
Mhm.
oh my God, I auditioned for so much stuff. Like, so, and to be fair, I can look back and go, ooh, oh man, that camera, oh, that lighting's bad. Oh, it's a shame, but honestly, the technical part is
Mhm.
just as important as the acting these days. Like, if you don't know how to edit a tape or know how to do, like, set up the lighting and do all that, because all our auditions now are video,
Yeah.
forget it. You can be I know really talented actors who can't book stuff because they're not really technical
Techies.
technology savvy. Thank you.
Gotcha. Yeah. Cool. So tell me about you. Who is Tom Glynn? Do you go by
Oh,
Thomas or?
my mother was the only person that called me Thomas, and she's gone, so nobody.
Okay.
I tell my wife she calls me Thomas. I'm like, what'd you say? There's not a lot to tell. I've just been very blessed with. I have a great life. I've gotten to pursue things. I just decided some time ago I just wanted to have an interesting life. So if I saw something, I'm like, I have an attitude. I can do that. I can see anything.
Yeah.
I can do that. I see somebody, and I'm not good at sort of doing something. If I do something, I want to be really good at it. That's either a blessing or a curse. I'd be like, some people, I'm going to work out, and I'm like, I want to be a champion bodybuilder. Oh, I want to learn martial arts. I want to be a world champion. I can't just sort of do something. About 6 years ago, I want to say it's about six, a friend of mine, I was watching John Wick, and I look and go, I know that dude. A friend of
Yeah.
mine booked stunts on it, two guys actually. And I reached out, I'm like, dude, are you acting? He's like, yeah, I'm doing stunts, and that's my way to getting into acting. Then he just
Yeah.
busts out with, dude, you could do it. You're a big guy. You got the tattoos. You got the look. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
could do that. And guess what? Turns out 6 years later, he was right. I talked to him the other day. I'm like, man, thank you. I don't know if you realize what that little bit did.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I just have I have a good life. I can't complain.
It's good. No, stunts sound so amazing. It's fun to do them. I wanna do more of those. But yeah. So why acting? Why pursue acting?
If I'm going to be really, really honest, if you'd asked me the first year, I would have told you because people are really nice to me and they pay you a lot of money. I mean, honestly, I think a
It's
lot of
true.
people, everybody does this thing, and I am one thing, I'm painfully honest. So if somebody asks me something, they'd be like, oh, I just love the artistry. I love to express myself. I'm like, I just got paid a bunch of money to stand around and look tough, and people are really nice to me.
Yeah.
But as I got further into it, I really did start to appreciate the artistry of it. And on one of the, I want to say third or fourth things I did. It was just a short film, but the director, his name's Jeff Rose out of Atlanta. Good friend, just a great guy and a really talented actor. He directed it.
Mhm.
And he said something the next day, because I'd always thought of myself kind of like a mechanic. I'm like, I come in, I do the job, I stand there and look tough. But this was kind of, I had to cry a lot in this. And I said something to him. He said, I got to see you become an artist today. And I didn't tell him, I probably haven't to this day. It knocked the breath out of me. I went home the next day just like, and I loved it. And I fell in love with the art of it. And I've been pursuing that for, like I said, my first, I want to say it's been about 6 years. That sounds about right.
Okay. And do you remember your first audition 6 years ago?
There's several answers to that, because one was a short film that never happened. But I walked in, the director looked at me and went, well, he's a big guy, he looks tough. You say this line. And I said, and I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
Okay, you're booked. I'm like,
Oh.
well, it never even happened, but it was cool that, oh, that's it.
Mhm.
Then I was like, I'm gonna go take some acting lessons. The first actual audition in person, I remember that because it was in Atlanta. I was in Florida at the time. I had to drive from where I live in Florida to Atlanta,
Mhm.
walked in, and it was something real, like 3 sentences. It was for a Fox show. I want to say 24 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, Mr. So-and-so, do you drive this car? It's being impounded. Like and I remember sitting in the waiting room going like, shit, was like, I was going, then I got in there and everything was fine, but that has always been my worst. If you give me a monologue, I'm great. If you go, oh, you got 2 lines, I'll be, God, what do I say? To this day, I think I'm finally kind of over that, but I did something in New Orleans a few weeks ago. The simplest thing is like, no touching. That's the line, no touching.
Oh.
I was convinced I was going to say something like, no talking. Go, shit. I was to the second right before we shot it. I was like, I'm going to say something stupid like, no, or no. But yeah, I want to say that was probably the first one. Was in person, was for Fox. They did a reboot of 24. I want to say that was it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Video audition. I have no idea. I've done so many. I have no idea.
It's like you lose count and it's like, oh, I auditioned for that. I can't remember.
I will tell you something funny is the stuff that you don't realize what you auditioned for at the time. Because I get a lot of unnamed Marvel projects.
Mm-hmm.
I get like, I've done several of those. And I was watching Loki, the 3rd episode, and I'm going like,
wait a minute.
I read for this because they don't. Bob and Sam go onto the train. Well, it's Loki and Sylvie, but they don't tell you that when you're reading for it. I read for the Spider-Man movie. I didn't know it at the time. There's a security guard outside the school when they first go in. Like, hey, come on, get in. Stay away.
I remember. Yeah.
I read for that.
Oh, my God.
I don't feel bad because I was filming a movie in Philadelphia and I had none of my equipment. So I've got like a lamp. I mean, it was not a good audition. So I didn't feel that bad about it. But I didn't. Normally, if I'm going to drive, mm-hmm. I carry all my stuff. I got a backdrop. Right. I've got lights and tripods. I can do a pretty good audition in a hotel room. But, it's in Philadelphia. So I had none of my stuff. So I'm going to turn this lamp up. And I'm like going down the hallway going, hey, would you come in here if I give you $20 you read this? Which sounds like a serial killer. I mean, honestly. Like, hey, if you come in my room, I'll give you $20. Just read what I got on this piece of paper. Yeah. This, honest to God, I actually had an audition for something while I was in New Orleans. I had my setup. I was like, great, I need a reader. And I hate Zoom readers and stuff. I want somebody I can look at. It's me.
It's more
I got
intimate.
the maid to come in and say, would you please read this? And it was cursing. And she said, I can't read this. And I'm like, I can't even get mad at you. So I found somebody who would do it, but it was still real. Hey, will you come to my hotel room and read this with me?
Yeah.
That sounds like I have something like hidden behind the door.
It's so funny. One of my teachers, James Dumont, he's great.
Oh yeah. I know who he is. I'm actually reading. A friend of mine took his class. Right now I'm reading one of the books James recommended. I sort of know James. I don't know if I think we've met or spoken once, but I've never taken one of his classes. But yeah, he's a good teacher. I've heard nothing but good stuff.
Yeah, he, what was it? I think it was 2 years ago. He was filming something in Atlanta, and he he couldn't find the reader, and he asked me like, "Hey, I know it's a bit of a last notice, but can you come read for me? It's 4 hours away. I'll give you gas money. You can stay in the hotel room." And I'm like, "Well, I don't have to work. I'm on my way." Like, I read in his hotel room, and what's his name? Jamie Foxx's daughter was there to be another reader, and
Really?
she seemed nice. Yeah, of course, I would prefer if Jamie Foxx was the reader, but just because
Oh, yeah, that
everybody
would be a
knows
nice
him.
little nice to meet you.
Yeah, but yeah, it was fun. Yeah, like you gotta find good readers and whatnot. Who would
That's the funniest thing. I love my wife. She's a wonderful person. She's a wonderful, sweet, she's such a kind person, such a good heart. And 90% of the time she's my reader. She
yeah.
is terrible. She's so bad. She's so bad. But I've actually booked some pretty good stuff with her as my reader. So I'm like, well,
Oh,
hell, I guess it's not everything.
yeah, sure.
I'm
I
thinking like I'm thinking right now, like my biggest booking, she's been my reader. So it'll throw some disparity what people, you have a good reader. I've booked some really good roles, and she's like, "Oh no, look out. What are you doing?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now?"
more
Like, just,
emotion.
yeah. She, I think maybe it helps. Well, compared to her, he's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I sometimes I use my mom as my reader, and she has stronger accent than I do, and she likes to be overly dramatic, but but
I'm
I
just
love her.
imagining she's talking like this.
But no, she's great. And then the audition that, well, my first co-star that I booked, I had to use myself as a reader, but I had to like twerk the
Oh, I
settings.
hate. No, I can't do that. I can't. No, 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 no.
Yeah,
There's two,
it's
and honestly, you have to be so good at timing stuff because there's going to be unnatural pauses or, yeah,
yeah.
no. I want to look at somebody in their face and go, no, yes, yeah, you're on my list.
Yeah. So tell me about fun stories from the set.
I've been thinking about that actually. It's fun versus funny. There's one that always stuck out, and I don't know why. I just thought it was hilarious. And it's always my story to people who love. I have friends who like they love to do background work. I'm like, if you're trying to be a quote unquote actor, I think
Yeah.
it's good to be background some because
Mhm.
that's how you get on a big set.
Yeah.
That's how you get on a network show if you're not experienced to be used to being in front of, wow, that's a big camera rig. Oh, and look at all
Mhm.
these people. Because if you're just doing short films and student films, then you book something, you're like, oh, wow, it's going to throw you off. So I think
Mhm.
it's good that people do background. But after a certain time, I'm not one of the actors who encourages people to keep doing that.
Mhm.
And I always say, because some productions just treat background like garbage.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because, I was thinking about saying something. I was trying to think of a funny story. This one just sticks in my head for some reason. I booked principal on this Fox show called The Gifted. I'm, and it's funny because that still to this day is one of the best jobs I had as far as the financial part because I didn't have a big part, but I shoot one of
Mhm.
the main characters. So every time they showed a commercial or showed a trailer, it's me shooting the guy. Well, they paid me every time. So, I mean, yeah, we went to Disney World on that. It was hilarious.
Nice.
But I'm dressed the same as all the background because they're all soldiers. I'm just the one who's principal. And they're
Mhm.
stuntmen at the end of the day, you're supposed to hand in all your equipment, like all the gear and stuff that you're wearing. And I'm just like, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just going to stand in line like I'm a normal, like on what's the background. Well, the
Yeah.
pianist comes up and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna turn in my stuff." She's like, "You're principal. You don't have to." I'm like, "I know," but she grabs my arms and she just starts shoving background, like, "Move,
Oh my
move.
God.
You're nothing. Just move." And I'm like, "Sorry." And for some reason, that just stuck in my head because I got really spoiled because I'm like, oh, this is what that feels like.
Hmm.
Because I'm so fair skinned. We're shooting outside in August in Atlanta. She's standing next to me with an umbrella over my head. And I'm like, I could get used to
Oh,
this.
yeah.
But for some reason, that story just stands out as funny because she went, why are you? why are you in line with the background? And just literally shoving them like, no, move, nobody, move. That's my funny story. I don't know. It's funny to me.
Yeah, no, it's funny to me too. Yeah, because and I feel bad for those people who like have to work background, but I mean it's their choice, you know.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. And you know what? And I had this conversation today. Some people look as paying your dues. I've done it. I've done
Mhm.
it before. I did it 3 times. On the third one, I'm like, I'm good with this. Cause I remember going like to get a cup of coffee. They're like, that's for principal. I'm like, I can't have a cup of coffee. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
exactly.
good. I'm good.
Like that's for lead actors. That's crafty. You can't be here. Shit like that. And I'm just like, oh my God.
I've been on sets where they get a little better treatment, and I've been on a couple of sets where I'm like, you are breaking every union rule I have ever heard of with these people. Like they're just treating them like cattle. But I've also seen sets where I'm like, okay, they took good care of background, and they were good to them. But
Gosh, yeah.
again, the only reason I think anybody should do background, if you like being background, just want to go, hey, I'm on TV, and
Mhm,
you don't want to be an actor,
mhm.
hey, God bless you. That's great. I know
Sure.
some people who love doing that. But if you're trying to be a principal actor or book, larger stuff or grow as an actor, I
Mhm.
just think after a few times, okay, you're good. You've been on a set. You're good. Because I do really believe casting directors start to look, that guy just does background. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
And they always talk about, well, so you might get bumped up. Well, yeah, you might win the lottery too, but it's very unlikely. I've heard of that happening twice in the
Mhm.
6 years I've been acting. And honestly, one of the productions, I can tell you right now, I know what happened. They're like, okay, principal guy didn't show up, just grab somebody. It
Yeah,
wasn't like they went, oh, that guy's got the look. It wasn't,
it
they
was like
just like
that.
grab somebody.
Mhm.
That's my background story.
I have background story too.
I bet you do.
I I was a background for three three or four times, and it was the set of the Glorious with oh my God, I don't want to fuck up her name, but Janae Monet, Janelle Monet. She's a singer, but she's also an actor, and she's modeling now. She's like black. I don't know, dark skin, but Julianne Moore was in it, and
Okay.
Alicia Vikander.
I know who you're talking about.
I can't
I
say.
read for a film with her and I cannot think of her last name to save my life. I've heard great stuff about her.
Yeah, they were both really nice from what I've heard. But anyways, on this set, like I was supposed to be just one of like the girls at the rally and whatnot, and we were supposed to not have any makeup on. When I do not look good without makeup sometimes. So it was one of the bad days, and like I was secretly like putting on makeup, and one of the makeup people, he's like, hey, you cannot do that, get over here. And I almost started crying, and I'm like, you know what, I feel like I'm gonna walk out. I didn't walk out, I still finished it, but after that I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what, fuck this, I'm gonna pursue acting instead. I'm tired of this treatment, but yeah.
No, I get it. And that's the thing. It's just they background is just it says it. You're the background. You are,
In the back.
and it's just gonna sound this somebody's gonna watch this and be like, God, Tom, you said that. I'm
No,
like, yeah.
you're
But she's like,
honest.
you're like a piece of furniture. You are adding to the atmosphere for the scene for the actors to perform.
Mhm.
And that's not what I want to do. I,
No.
I enjoy the artistry of acting. I know what I'm good at. I know the things I have, my strong points. I know what my niche is, and it's working out okay. And it's I'll tell you what, the next 6 months are going to be interesting. I'll say that much. I got some stuff going on. I'll tell you a little bit, and I'll tell you some other, like when this isn't on, because I don't want to, but I got some stuff lined up. So we'll
Yeah.
see. The last time I said that, I booked something. I was like, man, this is it. And there's like, wah, wah. And then I
Oh.
did an audition for 6 months. That's how this business is. Because a good friend of mine, and I'll probably quote him a bunch of this, his name's Phil Forna. He's a great Atlanta actor. He's Remember that name, because he's going to be the guy he's going to be the one out of my group of friends that's
Mhm.
boom, he books that next level role. He is so
Yeah.
dedicated. But he
What's his
says
name?
this is not like,
What's his name
but
again?
Phil Forna.
Phil Forna.
Yeah.
Interesting last name.
Look on my Instagram friends list. He's Philip Forna, but he said something once, and it's true. It's not a linear process. It's not like you go to a job and go, "Hey, I'm starting here, then I'll work into management, and then I'll
Mhm.
go to school and I'll do that." Boom, boom, boom. You can be, I'm on top of the world. Boom, boom, boom. Then
Mhm.
nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. Cold products. Let me quote Eminem. Just nothing. I think I've had a good 6 months where I didn't have a single audition. And then
Mhm.
I've had times where I had 6 auditions in a week or
Yeah.
more. I've had 6 auditions in one day.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was
Crazy.
like, oh, yeah. I was sitting there going, like, all right, which ones are the most important to me? Because the other one, we're going to phone in a couple of these.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. It's acting is something, if you're not, all right, I'm going to have to be in this for the long run. It's very few people that just get a good part and take off. It's like you put in your dues, you grind away at this stuff. And then it's like, sometimes it pays off. But man, if everything keeps going like it is right now, I'm almost quote unquote a working actor. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing enough stuff that I've got something booked. I just filmed a show for Hulu. I've got a CBS movie in 3 weeks. I've got the horror film conventions. I think I've got one a month for the next 2 or 3 months. And that's not counting any auditions or the other thing that I'll sort of talk about
Mm-hmm.
in a little bit. So if that keeps going, it's like we're doing pretty good. But hey, I just filmed this next thing, and then it may be nothing for
Mm-hmm.
months. And
Yeah.
that's just, it's stuff that's beyond your control. It's like they may not be looking for a guy my age, my character type. There may not be a production. We might have COVID come back up again. There's that hanging over our heads.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you
Yeah.
don't know. So
You don't know.
I tell people, like, I love this. It's acting's been great for me. It's been good to me. But am I one of those people that be like, I'm going to sell everything and move to Hollywood? Man, you gambling. You gambling hard.
But
Nah.
you mentioned conventions. How did you get into them? Did you have to be like invited? Did you tell me about it? How does it
I
work?
did sort of the Tom thing, which is what I always do. I just kind of act like I know what I'm doing, and then just if you look up "fake it till you make" in the dictionary, it's a picture of me going. No, seriously, like I just because I booked Creep Show and I'm not the lead of it, but I'm the monster bad guy at the end. Like the whole show is building up to me appearing,
Mhm.
and it was great costume, and I got a lot of recognition. It's probably my biggest role to date in a real way.
Mhm.
And I just kind of saw these conventions, and a friend of mine, yeah, we'll give another name. A friend of mine's name is Nick Principe. He booked this was several years ago. There's a couple of horror movies called Laid to Rest, and he's the main villain. And
Yeah.
I just talking to him, we were on a movie set. I'm like, how do you get into these things? And he just gave me some tips. And I literally just messaged, I saw some, hey, we're having MonsterCon or whatever. I'm like, hey, this is what I did. Here's my headshot. Here's a picture of me in costume. Let me know if you're interested. And one of the guys reached out. First, it was a little local thing. And
Mhm.
then one guy reached out and said, hey, we'd love to have you. I'm like, okay. He sends me a contract. I'm like, oh, this seems cool. And then that's
Nice.
just rolled into other stuff. I had a great time. I was in Houston 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
It was just great. People showed up dressed in Santa Claus outfits and said they
Yeah.
came to meet me.
Mm.
People drew pictures of my character. A 9-year-old girl made me a Christmas card. Like,
Oh.
oh, I was just like, I didn't know what to say. It was a great experience. Horror fans are very passionate. They really love that genre. So it was really cool to be a part of that. And I enjoy it. And it's surreal when you get that somebody's
Recognition.
paying somebody's paying to take a picture with me. Somebody's paying for a picture for me to sign. Somebody drove and said, I came here to get a selfie with you. And it's just, or people are giving like, hey, can we do an interview with you? And you're just like,
Oh.
oh, so this is kind of sort of happening, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool, but it was still kind of, wow, it's surreal the first time. I mean, people have done it like locally, like,
Mhm.
but like actually somebody came someplace with the intent, I want to get your autograph. It's a,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool. I mean, I'm very flattered and I try to be very outgoing and thank you so much for coming. And
Mhm.
I'm looking over it. I got to have a handler. She's sitting there handling the money. And I'm just like, God, we're doing pretty good. Then you
Yeah.
see somebody who's been in a bunch of horror films and her line is like out the door. And it's like, wow. But it was cool. It was very cool. I'm very grateful for that experience, and I'll hopefully do some more.
Yeah.
Houston Horror Film Fest. I'll give them a shout out. They were great to me. Tony Rodriguez runs it, and just everybody was just super,
Super
super.
nice. It's great. Who is the actor and director with whom you want to work with? Dream director, dream producer, writers.
Director's quick. That's the easy one, just because it's a personal preference.
Mhm.
Because I'm always bad at these things. Somebody says, "What's your favorite song?" I'm like, I got a lot of favorite songs. Or, "What's your favorite movie?" There's a lot of different movies. Director, Quentin Tarantino. That's hands down.
Yeah.
I love dialogue driven stuff. I love the way he works with stuff. I'm I'm a huge fan. I would be thrilled to be. I'll take back that, or Star Wars would be the only things I'd do background on. That's it. I would do, if he's a, you want to do background on Quentin Tarantino movie, I'd be like, yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's
yeah, I just love his directing style. I've heard he's a tyrant. Like, I've heard he's not fun to
Mhm.
work under, but he's just so brilliant. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah.
Actor, I don't even know where to begin with that, because I consider myself more of a character actor. So the ones that I'm going to say would probably not be your first, because it's not like Brad Pitt or something who's an
Yeah.
amazing actor. It'd be somebody like, I love to work with John Malkovich or Christopher Walken or people like that.
Yeah.
I'm at the point now that I don't, like, if I meet somebody like, oh, there's Dwayne Johnson. Hey DJ, how you doing? Hey, nice. Hey brother, how you doing?
Mhm.
I won't flip out. I won't. Oh my God. I want to be accepted as a colleague. I don't have. I see people on set who are just like, and these are professionals. Like, people have been doing this for a while. They're like, "Hey, can I get a pic, bro?" And I'm like, Jesus Christ, we're at work, man. Come on. I get you have to put the social media, and I get that, but it's like, I want to be seen as a colleague, not some fan who just sort of bullshitted their way on the set.
Mhm.
But if I met Christopher Walken or John Malkovich or any of these guys, I'd probably be like, all right, be cool, be cool.
Just
how,
breathe.
how you doing? I'd probably mark out a little bit. There's a few. I've gotten to work with some really great actors, and I've gotten to meet people there. I have yet to have a bad experience with any celebrity.
Mhm.
Like, anybody I've worked with, nobody has given me the, don't make eye contact with me, or that bullshit. I've had none of that. I've been pretty lucky. To be fair, I have not, some of my stuff's not with big A-listers,
Mhm.
but even the ones who are like, this is a famous, like, you were the lead on this show that I really liked. And just as nice and humble. I've yet to meet anybody who's not like a pretty good dude or woman or whatever we're saying these days, person.
Yeah.